Sorry, Paul, I will soon drop the link for the live stream. So you help me to drop it on the group chats as usual. Thank you.
All right, sir.
All right, so let me drop the link here so that we'll share to the WhatsApp group so that we just get started. All right, so thank you everyone once again. Welcome to class 2. So I think we'll start with a recap, right? We'll start with a recap of yesterday's class so that we'll be able to follow through. And also just to ask, right? I just want to get the opinion of people here. For those who watched the previous recording, I had someone who said that a lot of the terms that were used, even the video was not really beginner friendly. A lot of terms used, she didn't even understand and all of that. So probably I should have started with maybe what HTML is, what CSS is, and start graduating small. So I don't know. I just wanted to get kind of feedback. Okay, yeah. So I'll start the recording soon. Okay, so I just wanted to get some feedback concerning yesterday's class, right? Just to know, or not yesterday actually. So that was Saturday. Was I going to advance, just to get way opinions, right? Before I proceed. Should I have broken down some terms? Maybe that I did not, or something. Okay, so everyone is muted, though, just in case anyone is speaking. Okay, so what happens is you can drop it on the chats. Whatever feedback you have, you can drop it on the chat. So I'll just get to read it so that we will move. So I think first thing we are going to do today is that we would do a recap of yesterday's class, just in 5 minutes. We'll do a recap of yesterday's class and of Saturday's class, and before we now go ahead into what we have today. All right, so we talked about VS Code. Some people are using laptops, some people are using phones, but we started talking about VS Code. That VS Code is actually a code editor, right? That supports a lot of languages, programming languages, supports JavaScript, supports Python, C++, C#, and of course your HTML, CSS, and many other languages. It actually supports them, right? So people who write those languages are able to write them on VS Code, and VS Code, gives the required resource to support their coding experience and also the output of their code. So moving forward, we talked about the activity panel to the left, that we have Explorer, we have search, you're able to search this Git and GitHub for source control or version control. This is run and debug these extensions. So extensions here, you have a lot of extensions. They're actually called extensions, right? That support your coding experience. A lot of resources are here for indentation, for output, for preview of whatever you are coding, for it helps for even styling, right? A whole lot. You want to make your code look prettier, you can have those options, those extensions right here. And a lot of them are here, right? So depending on what you want, you actually go to the marketplace and search for it. So there are other extensions here which you may not find, or other icons here on my activity panel which you probably may not find. If you have not been working with Compass for MongoDB, you won't see yours. This for SQL. If you have not worked with SQL, you won't see this, except you have that extension installed. So of course, this account, everyone has it. These settings. So from here, we're able to access your settings, command palettes, and the rest. Up here, you actually have your file. You can create a new file, new folder. And I said that you always need to start your VS Code or your project, right, with a new folder. Very important. And if you're working with, Workspace, so Workspace actually allows you to bring in different folders and work on it at the same time. Yeah. So, but to get a workspace, you need to first save, right? So, like I have an existing code here and I want to create a workspace. So I need to first save this workspace as, right? So when I do that, so I don't want to go into that because it's just a recap. So, but you can save as, right? And you choose where you want to save it in. And next time you want to open it up, of course, you just go to the exact folder that you have saved it in and you just spin it up. This is just a recap of Saturday's class, of the previous class. So, I remember I said that make sure your autosave is on, is checked, so that at any point in time you write your code, it will just be saved automatically. So you have edits, you can undo, redo, copy, paste. And I equally say there are corresponding keyboard shortcuts to each of these options that you see here, right? So in the course of your coding, you would definitely like to learn these shortcuts. So they help reduce the number of times you move your mouse to the topmost panel to probably execute a command, right? Okay, so we have selection here. You can select all, you can expand, you can add cursor above, add cursor below. So let's just, we couldn't, while demonstrating, I couldn't show this add cursor above and below because we didn't have any code as at then. So, but let me just show what it is to add cursor above. So this is where my cursor is currently blinking. I'm not coding at the moment, so you can just watch and listen. My cursor is currently here. So if you come here to selection and say add cursor above, so you see what that does. It gives you an additional cursor up. You want to add above again, you have the next one. You want to add above again, it keeps going, right? So what this helps you to do is that if you want to type something, maybe there's something you want to type that is common to these 4 lines that have been selected. So you can just do the typing. So when you type, whatever you are typing will just replicate on the 4 lines. So for example, I want to say just an example, right? I want to say, let me just add a comment, for example. So let's say this is a comment. Okay, so already we have some errors here because where the line selected on line 8 does not make sense to the compiler. So, but just to show you, demonstrate that you can add cursor on multiple lines and start writing your code. Why? Because you want what you want on line, for example, on line 7 is the same thing you need on line 8, is the same thing you need on line 9. So if that is the case, then you can actually add multiple cursors so that on typing, it will just replicate at the same time, right? So I'll just do Control Z just to go back because that was not what I intended to write. I just wanted to demonstrate. Okay, so you have view, command palette. So like I said, from command palette, you're able to do a lot of things from command palette here. So you can, if you want to change your theme, the theme of your VS Code, right? You can actually change that. Let's see, browse color themes, color theme. Yeah, so there are a lot of themes here. So the default is this. Let's see. GitHub Dark, I think that's my default. So, but if you change the theme to any other one, you would see the difference, right? So it has changed. You've seen a different theme. And you can equally go back to that command palette. There's a shortcut for it actually. Shift Command P. I'm using a Mac, so that's why I have Command. But if you're using a Windows, most likely it will be Shift Control P, right? So you can bring up the command palette again, and from there, if you just say your theme and you enter, you'll be able to have a lot of themes. So you can play around with this. You can use, let's see another one, maybe Quiet Light, for example. Oh, okay. So I need something that is dark because of my eyes. So let's go to GitHub Dark, right? I think this one comes by default. Yeah, okay. So just to let you know that you can play around with themes or with, from the command palette, you can access settings and do a lot of things you wish to or run, terminal window and all of that. All right, so this is just a recap, like I said, of the previous class. Then also coming into the code proper. So I talked about document structure, that's HTML document structure, that there's a default document structure which you can access on VS Code by typing. Let me just type below here. I don't want to touch these codes that I've written. So let's just say here, so I want to just to spin out the default structure, right? So Shift and 1, it actually brings out this exclamation sign. And when you click on it, it just gives you the default HTML document structure, right? So like I said, it starts with doc type HTML. And this HTML is actually the roots. This line 71 is actually the roots, right? Root HTML. Okay, so Daniel Okoli, just hold on. I will respond to you. Then we have head tag, right? Head tag contains metadata. So all that you see here, they actually called metadata. Then you have a body, right? So this is just a default, right? Every HTML file that you see or website actually has this as the default. So you have body. Body is actually where you write your code inside, and you're going to see it displayed on the browser window, right? Everywhere around the browser window is actually where the code that is written in your body tag or body element actually gets displayed. So of course, after the body, of course, you need to close it up. So you can see root. When I said root from line 71, it's more like a container, right? So if I collapse this using this arrow, so you can see. So you have doc type HTML, you have HTML, which is the roots. So it's like that's what is holding every other thing. It's holding the head, is equally holding the body. Okay, so expanding. Yeah, so I think I did that. So let's pause here. Let me just read a few chats. I wouldn't dwell much on the previous class, but I thought to just take everyone through just in case to serve as a refresher. So many of us here are using phone. Please, can you go back to Replit and tell us how to start it up? Okay, so I made a video on the group chats. I believe we must have seen it, but I think I will just do a little around Replit this evening before I proceed. Okay. So here Daniel says, I opened a new file in the folder we created in the last class, but the content did not show in the live server. Okay, so probably there's a mistake somewhere along the line. That's why it did not show up. Yeah, if there's an error in your code, definitely you would not be able to see the live preview on live server. So that's something we may have to look at, but that will be later, not now, so that we go into the business of today. How can we change the browser for the browser for our live server? Because I had to uninstall my Opera Mini to select Chrome. Okay, so actually the live server by default opens up one of your browsers, probably the browser you set by default. You know, when you open your there's a default browser. Maybe you have like 3 or 4 browsers on your system, you know. It's not, if you want to open a web page from any other source, there will be a default browser that your system will automatically spin up, right? So it is in that setting, that's where you're going to be able to set your default browser. It will be in the setting of your system, whether you're using a Windows, you're using a Mac. So just go to your settings, your system settings, and do that, enable whatever browser you want to be your default. Then when you spin up your live server, it's going to open with the default browser that you have chosen. So that has to do with your Windows, like your system settings. Okay, so let's see, Replit. Okay, so I will just go to Replit. I'm actually going to work on it here on my system. I wouldn't be able to work on the mobile application. I don't have a mobile application at the moment to spin up, so I will just use the website, right? Just in a few minutes to show us for the phone users, replit.com. So when I went through the application, that's the mobile app and the website, I actually found out that it's the same thing, right? The same user interface. So it's nothing really different from what is on the web. So I think if I use the web to demonstrate, it's going to suffice. All right, so I'm going to continue with Google. Of course, I need to log in. Just for the benefit of those making use of their phones. So it's trying to open up. So from here, you create repo. On the app, mobile app, you equally see this option, right? Create repo. I saw that there's create repo here. Just look for wherever you have plus, right? Wherever you have plus is gonna give you the opportunity to create a repo, right? So you create a repo, click on it. Okay, so it's showing me this because I actually have up to 3 repos. So replit.com allows you to create 3 free repos, but beyond that, you have to pay. So what I can do for the purpose of the class, I can just go head straight here, delete one of my repos so that I would be able to create a new one for the purpose of this class. So I've deleted that, so I can now click on create repo. So it now gives me the opportunity to create. It's going to ask you for a template. You have to choose. So in our case, we are working with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you click on that. Then title, there's title here. So you can give title to it. Web development, development class 2. So you can do that. Public, then you just create repo, right? All right, so it's setting up for me. So this is what happens with Reply.com. It comes by default. It just brings the default HTML structure for you, so you don't have to do shifts and 1. You don't have to start with the exclamation mark like we did on VS Code. So automatically it spins this up for you. However, you need to understand what each of this line means, right? And which I went through that in our first class. So you could always check up the video if you've not done that. Okay, so this is what it brings for you. This script, this is something that we did not write in our first class, but this script, this is how to incorporate, or one of the ways, because it's not the only way, it's one of the ways to incorporate your JavaScript into your HTML document or file, right? So as you can see here, by default, Reply.com gives you an index.html, it gives you a script.js, it also gives you style.css by default, right? And another thing that Replit does is that line 8, if you look at line 8, you're going to see link href equals to style.css. So already Replit links your CSS file to your HTML. It links on line 8, and on line 13, it links your JavaScript, right? So everything is already linked for you here. You don't need to do any linking. However, you also need to understand what each line of code does. And you also need to type this. I always advise students to do typing by themselves, especially at the point where you are learning. Minimize copy and paste, minimize code generation by maybe AI or something. Try to type them by yourself so that your fingers will get used to it. That's really what it is. That's just a piece of advice. So line 8 is already linked for you by default, so it's important to understand what this is. Okay, so let me see. Hello world. So you see your preview. So let's check preview. This laptop. So I have a tab here called web view, but if you're using a phone, there's a button called run. You equally see the run button, right? So when you click the run button, it's going to open up the web view for you. So let's click on it. So if you're using a phone, then you will see exactly this, right? So you see hello world show here, hello world, because that's what is on line 12, right? So remember I said that what is on your body tag is what is going to show on the browser window. I earlier said that. So body tag is what is showing here. So you see hello world. So if you type something, you just see its display on the go. So, okay, so this is my first code, right? So let's say you want to say this is my first code. Okay, so this one requires that you run at every point in time that you type your code. So let's click run. So, okay, so let's see. There's also a refresh button here. Let me see. Okay, all right. So the refresh button actually brings it. Okay, it brings it to the display. But if you're using your phone, you click on run, it's run that would always make the web view to spin up. And even when you type your code here, I think your web view will be by the side, something that you can swipe to the right or to the left. So from your web view, you equally see the display of your code. Then another thing I needed to just add is that we brought in an image to our code in the last class. So just to show you how to bring in external files, maybe to bring in image, to bring in, to even create a new folder, right? To bring in an audio file, video file, whatever you want to bring in. So you see here that there's an icon here saying new file. On your phone, you are going to see an icon at the bottom of the phone. That's if you're using the mobile application now, you're going to see at the bottom, this run button that is up here is actually at the bottom on your phone. Then to the left of this button down, right, you're going to see an icon that looks like, it actually looks like folder or like a book kind of to the left, right? Bottom left, you see the icon. Then from that icon, you click. When you click on that icon, it actually brings out this, what you're seeing here, files, index.html script. Yeah, so that's what actually happens on your phone. I'm not using a mobile at the moment, so that's why I'm explaining it this way. So, but if you're using a phone, you actually see what I'm talking about. So you can create a new file, right? New file and give it a name. Maybe say new.html, right? So you can create that. Just click enter. Of course, you'll get to work there. What else can you do? You can create a new folder. So you can call it any name. I'm just showing you around my folder. Okay. So you've created a folder, right? Then you want to bring in an image. There are 3 buttons here. So you click on it. So from here, you can upload file. You can upload a folder, pen, download a zip. You can download your code after typing. Show hidden files, collapse all, and the rest. So from here, you can upload a file. Let me just show you how to upload a file here. So let me see what I have. Okay, so let me do this. Okay. So I've brought in a file, as you can see here. This is actually the file here. Okay, so from here you can actually access your file. Say you want to bring in that image. We worked on image in our last class, but I'm just demonstrating this for the phone users. So image is self-closing. So say you want to bring in image src, that's the URL, the link to the URL. So just like in the last class, you can say dots and /. It's the same thing. So it's going to show you all the files and folders in your current working directory or present working directory or current folder that you're working in. So you can just click on that, choose that image. Actually, this image name is too long. I'm supposed to edit it, but I wouldn't go into that since I already have, I've been able to input it. So I don't think there's any need to shorten it. But normally, you would normally want to shorten this, right? So, so from there, you can click on run. Okay. No, so for here, so yeah, you can click on run for your phone, but here you'd have to refresh to see that work, right? So from there, you can see hello world is my first code. Yeah, so it works. This is just for the benefit of phone users, but I wouldn't be teaching with Reply.com, but you can follow me, right? So let's go back to VS Code. Yeah, so we are here. Is there any questions so far before we continue? Okay, so if there are any questions, please drop it on the chat or you raise your hand so I would attend to you. So, so let's close this. So still talking about yesterday's or the last class or the previous class we had. Let's try to explain what we have here. So this was the basic HTML structure, and we gave some comments which are very useful. This one says that the doc type HTML tells the browser that it is a HTML document to open. Of course, it's self-explanatory. I've talked about HTML root. Head, this is the opening head tag, right? While this is the corresponding closing on line 10. So I talked about metadata, everything within the head tags, they are called metadata. And on line 6, I was able to bring in a logo for our website, right? Okay, so I changed the title to Web Dev Class 1. By default, is documents if you are working with VS Code. So I actually changed it to Web Dev Class 1. And this is the opening body tag, which I did explain. We typed this, hello world is my first code. Then we talked about tags. What tags are? That there are two types of tags, or two categories, the self-closing tags and the non-self-closing tags, right? So we gave some examples of self-closing tags like input, image, break, HR for horizontal line, link, meta, and the rest. So like I said, the list is endless. You could go to w3schools.com to have a full list of all the tags in HTML. Right. We also talked about non-self-closing tags. Non-self-closing tags actually come in pairs. You would see it starts with an opening tag, ends with a closing tag, just as you can see here. However, it's not encouraged to have empty tags on your HTML document or file. So I did this because I was trying to make a demonstration. So that's why we have this H1 title. These are all non-self-closing tags. And why are they non-self-closing? Because they are in pairs. You can see here. All right, I talked about comments, how to comment in HTML. This is actually the syntax. It starts with left angle bracket, exclamation mark, dash, dash. Then you actually write your comments there. Then you close it up with dash, dash, and right angle brackets. This is syntax. That's for single line comments actually. But for multi-line comments, this is how it is written, right? From lines 41 to 43, you can see, you start the syntax as usual, write as many things as you want in different lines, right? And this is how you end it, right? So you can actually bring these comments down, bring this one down. It's still the same thing. So that's multi-line comments. So just in case you don't want to be commenting line by line. All right. Okay. So we talked about elements. The element is actually made up of opening tag, content, and the closing tag. And these are all illustrations for elements, right? Attributes. So we said attributes contain properties of elements, and they are written in opening tags after the name of the tag. So for example, I gave A, which is an anchor tag. href is actually an attribute because it is written after the name of the tag. href, then of course, it will have an equal to sign because they need to be a value. So see it as key value pair. Key value pair. So the key is href, the value is HTTPS. Or in between the key and value, you're going to have an equal to sign. You will have opening quotation. Then after the value, you're going to have, you will close the quotation mark. So yeah, so I think that's where we stopped. Then we try to bring in, try to talk about an image and also demonstrate. Okay, we talked about an image which is self-closing, right? So remember that A, which is anchor tag, is non-self-closing. That's why it has a pair. It has an opening and a closing. Then I tried to demonstrate bringing in attributes into self-closing tags. I think this year we stopped in the last class. All right, so I have something in the chat here. Okay, thank you, Daniel. So we just go straight to what we have today. So we are going to start with text formatting. So remember, everything we are writing is within our body tag. Don't forget, if you write it outside your body tag, it's either will not show or you encounter errors. So let's talk about text formatting, right? Text formatting. Okay, so text formatting. So we want to just write a text and would bring in a lot of formatting in the text, right? We just bring in a lot of formatting options that you could have in manipulating or working with texts. Okay, so one of the ways, so let me use small letter. So there is this shortcut for generating random text, right? So maybe we don't want to think of what to write. We just need a paragraph of like 500 words, right? Maybe because there are a lot of things you want to do with it. Or say you are coding in your website and maybe at that point you don't have the contents, what you want to put there, but you just need it to be filled with some dummy text or dummy content, which you will later revisit and change it to the real content you want. But you don't want the fact that at that point you don't have a content, you don't want that to waste your time in the course of development. You just need it, you want to just fill it up with something and, you know, play around with whatever you are doing. So there's actually this lorem. Lorem is a way to spin up texts, dummy texts, depending on the length that you want. So for example, if you said lorem 200 and press enter, so this is what I have. Can you see line 68 down to this place? So it brings out dummy text. However, we want to do this within a tag, right? So let's Control Z. So we want to do this within a tag because we want to, let's put in a paragraph tag because it's actually going to be like a paragraph. So before we type the lorem, so we can say lorem 200, for example. So it gives us 200 characters, or sorry, 200 words in a paragraph. So you just press enter and it brings this out for you. Okay, so let me close my terminal here. Right, so it actually brings this out for you. And let's check our live server just so that you will see the outputs. Open with live server. So you can see here, right? You can see lorem, ipsum, dolor, sit, amet, conceptual, dipsing, elite, and all of that. You know, it just gives you some dummy text to work with. Yeah. So since you are working with text formatting, I need a bunch of text to work with. So I don't want to start thinking of what to type. That's why I just used lorem. So it's actually quite helpful. So if you want to spin up to 500 words, so you still say lorem 500. So you said lorem 200 and it gave me 200 words. Okay, Daniel.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good
I tried to replicate what you just did now, but mine is in a straight line. That's why your one is wrapped on the BS code. I don't know, is it the setting I need to do? Can you put me through on that? Because like on the line is code, like it extended and let's see if person enter, you need to have it You have it on your own.
Okay. You mean yours comes out in a long line from left
Yes,
to
sir.
right,
Yes, sir.
as though it is
Yes, sir.
it never ends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that comes from okay, so try to save or try to format. Let me see. Control F. So if you, sorry, hold on. Let me get to command palettes. Command palettes, and let me look for formats. Format document. Okay. So you can actually use command palettes. So I believe with your command palettes, of course, you've seen how it formatted mine. So just go to your command palette. Command palette is Shift Command P or Shift Control P if you're using Windows. But if you look for the exact, if you look for the shortcut for format documents, you can actually use that shortcut directly. Maybe you just do Control A, that's it to select all your code, and you just use the shortcut. So this is the shortcut for me here. Shift Option F, that's for Mac. So you equally have the equivalent in your Windows if you're using a Windows laptop. So you can look for the equivalent and select all. So when you select all, mine says Shift Option F. So if I say Shift Option and F, remember it was already formatted. So that's why you are not seeing any change. So, but you can do yours, Control All, Control A to select everything, then use the corresponding format option or shortcut to arrive at your desired destination. Okay, so we'll move, right? So we have this text, and this is how it shows up in our browser. It's already here. So what we want to do is let's have some different tags used for formatting text at different places so that we see how it works. So within a text like this, for example, let's say you want to make a particular text bold, right? So you want to make it bold. That's in between the text. You want to just make something bold. So let's say from here to elite, I want to make it bold. So I start it, I bring in this B tag. This B tag is actually to bold your text. So you start it at where you want it to begin. Then where you want it to end, you actually close it, right? You close it like this. Yeah. So it's actually closed. So let's see the output. Okay. So you can see from Ahmed here to Elite, you can see that the text is bold, right? So that's how to achieve that using this B tag within a text. So that text is actually a paragraph. Remember, this P stands for paragraph. So you want to just do some text formatting there. That's how you apply the bold formats. So you want to do, let's say, you want to underline, right? So let's say from here, you want to just underline the text. So you just bring in the U tag. U is actually for underline. So depending on where you want it to stop, but I'm just making an example here. Say you want it to stop here before this Colpa. So we actually close it here. So you can see that's underline U. And when we go back to our website that we are building, you're actually going to see that from here, after quas, from repudiande or something, down to here, yeah, before Colpa, you actually have the text underlined, right? So let's say you want to create that effect in the text that you are typing. So that's underline. What else can we do? Let's say we want to italicize, right? You want to italicize a portion of your text or every part of your text. It depends on what you want. So you could even italicize a bold text. So you actually have bold here. It's bold already, but you want to italicize it. You can actually put I. The I tag will actually bring that italics for you. So you begin the I before the bold, and after the bold, you close it. / then I. So what you are going to see is that this text from Ahmed to Elite is both going to be bold and it's going to be italicized. All right. So as you can see here, Ahmed's conceptual, Adib Singh, Elite. So from here to here is bold and is equally italicized, right? So that works. But you can also italicize another part of text just on its own. You still see the result. So let's say you want to do I, you want to bring in the italics tag here, and probably want to stop here. So just do this, I, you close it there. So you will see that where you have this acusamos hierum, it's actually going to be italicized. So let's check it out. Okay, so okay, so I'm searching. This is it. Let me zoom in. Can I zoom in a little bit? Okay. So you can see here that's here, acusamos hierum here, where my cursor is actually italicized, right? Okay, so that's italics. Let's see, what else can we do? Emphasize, EM. So we have an EM tag that emphasizes. EM, M for emphasis. EM. So you just put the EM on the portion of text that you want to emphasize, and you see the output. Okay, so let's check it out. EM. So so we put it, let's check it out. Sapiente, from Sapiente. Okay, so let's see. So you can see here that the EM actually works like the italics, right? There's almost no difference. However, the difference is in the semantics, like it makes more semantic meaning, and it's actually what it is. EM is for emphasis, I is for italics. So the other one is you just want to italicize. But when the browser sees EM, so it's emphasis. So you may not really see the difference until you are using a screen reader, for example. Screen readers are used for those that have challenges with, maybe they are blind, or they have, they are blind, or maybe they have color blindness, or maybe physically blind, or, physically challenged or something. And maybe they cannot read your websites, from beginning, top to bottom. So what is normally used are screen readers. So the screen reader will actually read your text, right? It will read your code. It reads your code from beginning. So the importance of these tags is that as the screen reader is reading your code, when it gets to this point, it's just going to say emphasis, right? Emphasis. Then it now reads the text within the EM tag. However, on your website, what you are going to see is that EM behaves like an italicized text. Physically speaking or looking, it is the same thing, but for the purpose of accessibility, That's actually what it is, accessibility. When you build a site that is accessible, it means that those that are physically challenged or have one kind of challenge or the other can use your website with the aid of screen readers. So it's important to use the right tag. When you use the right tag, okay, say for example, you know that when you use the I tag, it will italicize this text. And when you use EM, it will equally italicize. So let's say you wanted to just achieve an italicized text, and probably you went to use EM because you know that EM is definitely going to give you an italicized text. So, but this does not really help screen readers, right? Because you did not intend to make it emphasized, but you used EM tag because you also wanted to achieve an italicized text. So it's important for you to know that if what you just want to do is to make that portion of text italicized, you just use I. But if you want to emphasize for the purpose of screen readers, majorly, you use EM for emphasis, right? So that's really what it is. We equally have another one, strong. Strong. So when you see strong, strong actually gives a stronger emphasis. Stronger emphasis. So when you have strong, strong, so we have that strong. Let's just say we want to end it here. Strong. So you have the opening tag of strong and you have the closing within the text that you want to strongly emphasize. So it started at libero, stopped at sequi. So let's check it out. So you see libero and it stopped at sequi. So another thing you would see is that it seems there is no difference between strong and bold, because at the end of the day, you have bold here for strong, or strong emboldens the text, and the B tag equally emboldens the text. And somebody might be asking, what's the difference? So like I said, it's the same thing. Strongly emphasized. It means that this text here, libero to sequi, is strongly emphasized compared to this one. This one, we just added a bold. We just said, oh, let's make it bold, right? But this one is strongly emphasized. So like I said, most of these things are for screen readers. So you might not really see the difference. Yeah. So, but I have a chart here. Let me see. So Harry says, so can you use both emphasis and italics like you used bold? Yeah, sure. You can. You can use both emphasis and italics, right? So let me, I think I guess this is what it means. Okay, sorry, let me read it again. He said, can you use both emphasis and italics like you used bold and italics? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So, but you won't see any difference anyway. So this italics, so you can put EM, you can emphasize it here. But like I said, you will not see the difference because visually speaking, both of them just italicize the text. But if you now put EM in front here before the I, what it does is that when screen readers are reading, they would emphasize this italicized text. Take note. They will emphasize this italicized text, right? So, but if you look at it, Accusamus Erum, let's check. If you check Accusamus Erum, this is it. So it still remains italicized. You can use both of them together. It depends on what you want to achieve, really. But it's important to understand the difference between the two. So you equally have strong. You have sub. Sub. So let's start from here. Let's say, okay, from EOS. Let's say sub. So sub is for subscript. Right? Sub is for subscript. So to make it make more sense, let's do something like this. let's type in text. Let's say CO2. For example, maybe you are working on a site that is maybe like, site for sciences, and you have CO2. So normally it's just going to show CO2, but you want to make that 2 a subscript. So you just bring in sub before the 2, right? You bring in sub, SUB. So then after the 2, you just close the SUB, right? SUB. Okay, so VS Code automatically close that for me. So you see CO, then you have sub, you have 2, then you have the closing sub tag. So what this is going to do is going to bring that 2 down and give you something like CO2. Let's look for it. So I hope you can see it here where my cursor is. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. So CO2 is here. You can see it, CO2. So that's what the sub tag does for text formatting. And we also have SUP, that's for superscript. So let's say maybe you're working on a mathematical formula or building a site for mathematics, maybe mathematics department, mathematics event or something, and you come across things like maybe x raised to power 2, for example. Let's just say x raised to the power of 2. Okay, so in between the x and 2, you just bring in your SUP. SUP, that's like superscript, right? Superscript. Then after that 2, you just close it. SUP. Okay, so when you check, all right, so if you can see here where my cursor is, let's say you want to do x squared or x raised to the power of 2. So you can see it here already, x raised to the power of 2. So that's what SUP does. So we have a whole lot, right? So, but I'm just giving you this few so that you would go back. You can actually check out for more text formatting tags that you could use. But the last one I want to show you is block quotes. Block quotes. Okay, let me check this question here. All right, so Faith says, when arranging the combined tags, do they have a particular arrangement or it can be done anyhow? There's actually no particular arrangement. It can be done. Okay, so let's demonstrate it just to show you that there's no order. So we have, this one is italicized and equally bold, right? So let's say we bring the bold tag before the italics, right? Bold before italics. So remember, you are going to go to the closing and also change the order. So let's say we brought in the bold before the italics, right? So this text Ahmet, okay, so let's check Ahmet. So it's the same thing. As you can see, Ahmet's conceptual deep seeing elite is bold and is equally italicized. So there's really no order. It will work. There's really no order. All right. So block quotes, I think that's the last one I want to show you. You can check out more on w3schools.com. Yeah. So, but let's say block quotes. We want to do a block quote from here, for example. So block quotes, like I said, actually represents maybe a portion of text that's maybe you are quoting from somewhere, right? You are quoting directly from an author. So you just use the block quotes, tag to achieve that. So we can end it anywhere. So let's assume we want to end it here, for example, right? Block quotes. So let's see, from Lorem to Kwasi, let's see what happens. So as you can see, this block quotes, because it separated the text from every other part of the paragraph, right? And just set it apart to show that, oh, this is a part of text that maybe was lifted from somewhere, a particular author somewhere, right? So that's block quotes. All right, so that's text formatting. We can go on and on, but we'll stop there for text formatting. You can actually go online and get more text formatting tags that you could use. But I think these are some of the frequently used tags. I think there's also another one, del, del, delete, del, del. So let's say here, let's close it, del. So let's say here where we have laboriosum offices. Let's check there. Okay, so this is what the del does. It actually brings a strike through, right? So you want to achieve strike through on your text. So you just use the del tag. You actually achieve that. All right, so we'll move. Let's look at inline versus block level element. This P. Remember, we are still typing within our body tag. So don't go out of your body tag. Make sure you are still within your body tag, right? So next is inline versus block level element. So what are inline elements? What are block level elements? Okay, so inline elements are just elements that, okay, I think I should just type it here. So inline elements actually take the full width of its content, full width of its content, right? I'm going to demonstrate that inline element take the full width of its content, or we can say takes the width. Let's use the word width. Takes the width of its content, while block level elements, I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. So block level elements actually take, so they take the full width, of its parent container. This is the major difference between inline elements and block level elements. So example of inline elements, let's give the examples. So what do we have as examples? We have span. I will demonstrate it. Span is inline. We have anchor tag or anchor element. Let's use that word, because when we put in a content in between, it's actually going to be an element. So let's say anchor element. So we have inputs. Yeah, so these are just a few. They are inline, right? We are going to demonstrate what it means to be inline, why they are inline. Okay, so we also have block level elements. We have examples such as div just wants to demonstrate a division, more like a division in your code, like a portion of your code, kind of. Div. We also have paragraph, that paragraph that we earlier showed here. We have, I'm just going to give you a few. UL, that's UL stands for unordered lists. Then we have OL. OL stands for ordered lists. So there are quite a number of them, but these are just to mention. So let's go into the main difference. Let's see the demonstration. All right, so let's say we have for the span, I want to use an existing text for the span to demonstrate the span for us. So, or even though I don't use an existing text, so let me just write something. I can say, oh, this is a span. This is a span, an inline element. So you just get to see in a bit an inline element, right? So this is an anchor. This is an anchor. Same thing, an inline element, right? Then inputs. So how do we write inputs? So value. Input actually has value. I'll still talk about what the value is. And of course, you are going to see how the value plays out, because I've talked about, but I will talk about input more when we go into forms. When we are working with forms, right? We'll go deeper into what inputs is and the various attributes that input has. So let's say value equals to, this is an input box. This is an input box, an inline element still. Inline elements. All right. So here is a div. So we just say in the middle here, this is a div. This paragraph. So let's say this P stands for paragraph. So this is a paragraph. Okay. So UL is an unordered list. So this is an unordered list, right? OL is an ordered list. So this is an ordered list. Okay. So just to show you difference between block level element and inline. So I said an inline element is going to take the weight of its content. So let's check it out. But one of the things you might not be able to identify at this point is because we've not given colors to it. So you may not really appreciate these examples. But let me add color to it at least, so that you get to see how it plays out. So when I add colors, that's when you are really going to see the difference between them being in line and those that are actually block level. Let me just add color to it so that you appreciate what I'm talking about. So this span, so let's say style, I want to add color. Style equals to, let's say background color. Background color. Let's say I want to make background color maybe blue violet, right? Then this I give a style, equals to, then I want to make background color to be background color. I want to make background color to be, let's say red, for example. Then in this inputs, let's say background color. So style, right? You actually start with style attributes. That's what will usher in the colors or the styling. Style equals to, let's say background color, but that one is equally visible. Background color, let's say maybe beige. Let's give it beige. Then this div, let's also give it a background color, just so that you will see what we are talking about. Style equals to background color. So background color. Okay, let's give brown as the background color here. So the good thing here is that as you are typing with VS Code, for those using laptop, VS Code will automatically complete these things for you. But if you're using a phone, I don't know if you have an autocomplete, but if you do not have, please take note of the syntax. I'm trying to add styling to both the inline and block level element. That's what I'm doing at the moment. And of course, you can see that the syntax is style. We'll still talk more about styling later, but just to explain inline and block level, style equals to, you have an opening quotation mark or quotation sign, then you have the name of the style, which is background color in this case, then you have colon, then you have the value, right, which is like background color. Of course, it needs to be given a value, so we gave a blue violet here, then we closed it up here with semicolon, then closing quotation mark, just for you to take note of the syntax, because if you miss it, you are definitely going to have an error. All right. So P, this paragraph. So style equals to background color. Okay, so background color, I don't know what color we use here. So let's just say chocolate. Let's use chocolates and see. Chocolates. Then UL, where we have the unordered list. So style equals to background color. Let's just say aquamarine, for example. And the last one, ordered list. So style equals to background color. So let's say, I don't know, crimson, dark blue. Okay, so let's give dark blue. So we've given all of these colors because I need you to appreciate the difference between inline and block level elements and how they are used. So I've given all of them colors, right? And I want to see, or we want to see how it shows out or how it plays out. So can we see this? Can someone just tell me the difference? Like what are you seeing? I just need someone to, maybe you drop on the chat or you unmute and speak.
Different colors.
Okay, so what you are seeing is different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. They're actually different colors because we gave them that different colors. Yeah. But beyond the different colors, what else?
For the inline, the color is just for the text. While for the block line, the color extends beyond the text.
Okay, yeah, great. So
I'm thinking, for the first inline, we said, okay, can we make it a different line? Like the first, this is the for the span, for the anchor. Can it be on different line?
You said, can what be on different line? Span.
Like the span and the anchor, like can it be on different line?
Yeah, of course, it can be on different lines if we make it to be on different line. But you know, by default, it is inline. So because it is inline, just from the word inline, it just means it's definitely not going to take a new line. So a block level element like div here, it takes the full length of its parent container. So it means that this div has a parent container. What's the parent container of this div? Let's check. What's the parent container of this div? Can anybody tell me what the parent container of that div is? So the parent container of that div is actually the body, right? Body. So it's going to take the width of its parent container. But had it been okay, so what if we had a container? Let's say a div. Let's say we had a div here, right? Remember, div acts like a container. So let me just say that div acts like a container. Even P acts like a container. UL acts like a container. OL also acts like a container. In fact, block level elements generally act like containers. But inline is it just takes that's the width of its content and stops there. That one does not care about parents. Whatever the width of the parent is, it doesn't care about the width of its parent. It doesn't care about the size. What it just cares about is what is the content, what is my own content. I just want to stop there. I'm not going beyond. So div acts like a container. So let's say I have a div up here, and I bring this div on line 110 inside this div, right? So let's say I copy 110, I copy it or I cut it. So let me cut Control X or Command X. Then I drop on line 108. So at this point, what happens? The div on line 107 becomes a parent to the div on line 108. So why did I say that? I said that because if the parents on line 107, if we give it a width, okay, so now let's give it a width. We are giving the parents, so remember, we are giving the parents a width now. So remember that block level element will take the full width of its parent. The initial parent for this div on line 108 was the body tag. Body. This body that we have here on line 16. That was the initial parent. But now we have brought in another parent to say, oh, we want something to be, we want you to be enclosed into something. So the parent is just look at it like the word parent, right? Of course, a parent will actually give birth to a child. You understand? So 107 is the parent, 108 is the child, if you want to use that analogy. So this div is a parent. So let's give it a width. Let's give it a width. So style equals to width. So there's actually a width property. Width. So let's say width of maybe 200 pixels. So let's see what happens to this line 108 on our code. So can we see this? It actually reduces the width of this div because we have now brought it under a parent and we have constrained the width of the parent to 200 pixels. So it's actually going to fold up or squeeze to that 200 pixels and stop there. That will be the full width of that div. And remember that div is a block level. So it's going to take the full width of its parent. So now that we have given it a parent and we have asked the parents to have the width of 200 pixels, then it's actually going to squeeze itself into, and its width is going to be 200 pixels. So what happens if we give the child its own width? If we give the child its own width, so let's say width. Okay, so we want to add another style. So what if we give the child its own width and say 100 pixels? What's going to happen? So the child is going to restrain itself. Since we've now decided to restrain the width of the child, so the child will just fold up to that width of 100 pixels, even though there is still more space to take up in the parent, right? So you see, it folds up more, even though the parent container there's still an extra 100 pixels for the parent from here going forward. But we've now restricted the size of the child. So the child will remain at that position, although the width of the parent is actually greater or bigger, right? So it's also important to understand that block level elements could also act like, you could see them act like inline elements, but that's when you restrict the width. Like when you play around with its dimensions, it might act like one. But one of the things you would not see, you won't see it, you won't see it, it will still take a new line. The next block level element after this is a div will still take a new line. It will not come up to be on the same line with this, even though I reduce the size of this paragraph. Okay, so let's practicalize it. Let's reduce the size of this paragraph. It will not still come to be on the same line with this is a div, but inline element will just stay on the same line. The next inline element will just come and join the first one. The next one will come and join. All of them can be on the same line. They don't really, yeah. But block level elements must always start by default. They start on a new line. So this is a paragraph. Let's restrict the width of this paragraph to say maybe 150 pixels. So let's say width 150 pixels, for example, and we check. So you can see it still does not come to join this is a div, even though we've restricted the width. What if we even reduce the width further? What happens? So what happens in coding, right? You just play around. As you play around, you will get to see how these things work. You will see it. If you reduce the width and the width is too small, smaller than the content, what will happen? You can check. If you increase the width and the width is more than the content, what will happen? You equally can check. So that's one thing with coding. You just play around. Of course, it's front end, because anything you do on your code, you see the output. So you can like, oh, okay, no, this one is too big. I want to reduce it or something. So the prerogative now depends on you, on what you exactly what you want to achieve. So let's take the width back to 150. All right, I have a question here. He said, please, I have a question. I came from work. Okay. Yeah, so Joshua, you could always watch this later if you didn't start with us from the beginning. Thank you. So yeah, so I think that's the demonstration. And so for example, let's talk about span. Where these things are useful is maybe in the middle of a text, right? Let me see, where did I have? Okay, so where did I have our lorem? Where is our lorem text?
Sir, please, what if I use to let's see all these colors to have using with
You said what if?
I'm using phone. Will I still see all these styles, colors?
So you are going to see if you are using phone and you are using Replit.com. Remember Replit.com, I think we saw colors there, if I can remember. So look at it. Replit.com also has colors here. But if you type, let me see. Yeah, it has colors. Everything is here. But it will definitely have its own colors. So let's say, okay, so I just want to show you. Or, okay, so instead of typing a new thing, let me copy what we have and come and drop it there. I don't want to start typing something new. Let's just copy this span, right? And drop it here, Ctrl V. So what happens? So let's reload, right? So you can see this is a span, an inline element, right? So you may not see it like VS Code. VS Code already you would see blue, you will see the blue-violet color showing here in a kind of in a square. But with Replit, you don't see it. But what you see is the same thing. There is style, there is equal to, it will work, the same syntax. There is open quotation mark, there's background color, there is colon, blue, violet, yeah. So this is just something additional from VS Code, right? These colors that you're seeing here is actually from VS Code, but it will still work. The same code, when you drop it here on your Replit.com, you would still see the same results, right? So that's really what it is. So, but like I said, if you look at it, it's actually small. It might not give you the best learning experience because this screen size is small, right? Or I think you can, if you're using laptop, I think you can push it to a new tab. I think so, yeah. So, but I don't want us to be so much distracted with this. Or okay, so let me see. Let me click on new tab. Okay, so it works. This is it. But that's if you're using a laptop. If you're using a phone, I don't think you will have this option to spin it out on a new tab, right? Yeah. So if you're using a laptop, it works actually. All right. So let's go back to VS Code. Yeah. So I've shown us what inline and block level elements are and what they look like. And I was trying to explain that for span, right, where they are really useful or helpful is like in text formatting, for example, right? So let's say within this text, you want to just add a special styling within the text. So you can just say span, and it will not take your text to a new line. So you can say span. Maybe you want to give it a different styling, maybe a different color or something. Sorry, we've not entered into styling yet, like CSS, but I had to bring in the colors for you to be able to appreciate when we talk about inline and block level element. Without bringing the colors, you might not really understand that. So, but we still get to colors, right? So, but just try to understand what I'm doing. So span, you bring in span here. On a normal note, you will not see any change, right? So this text remains the same. Tempora maxim, at Penazzo will remain the same. By just putting the span, it won't do anything. Let's check it out. Sorry. Okay. So let me try to figure out that place. So let me see. Tempora maxim. I think I saw it here. Where is it? Tempora. Okay. This is it. Tempora maxim as Penato. So as you can see, there's actually no difference, right? Me just putting the span makes no difference. So, but if you want to do something, let's say you want to style it, maybe you just want this portion of text to just have a particular color, right? So you can now say style equals to maybe color. Then you can say red, for example. So you are going to see that that portion we just have that color, right? Because that's what is in the styling. You understand? So span is actually used for, you want to bring in some kind of extra styling or something in between text, but you don't want to create a new line. You don't want it to enter into a new line. So you just bring in span. And from span, you put anything you want to put, right? Color, you can increase the fonts, you can say font size. Font size equals to font size, sorry, colon, let's say 20 pixels, 20 px. So you are going to see that every other part of the text is going to remain the same, but only this part that I have increased the font is going to change. The font size will be bigger and it's going to take a yellow color because, sorry, red color, because that's what I did here in this span. Okay, I saw your hand raised, Daniel. You have a question?
Yes, my question is about this PX. This PX. When
Okay.
you said style equals width, I was thinking that the PX would be the number of character in the style, but it appears that like that's not the case. Like, what do you know this PX?
Yeah, so PX is for pixels and is a unit of measurement, right? So there's PX, there is REM, there is EM, there is REM, there is EM, there is PX. So, but we'll go into that later. So, but just understand that PX means pixels. It's a unit of measurement, right? So the browser window is actually measured in pixels. Just like you have your phone, you have the pixels.
Okay, more like a frame, right? The frame, like more like a frame, whereby the text can be like a limited frame, right?
No, not can I call it a frame? It's just see it as that is how the browser is able to represent. It represents things in pixels. Just like you see this image. This image has a dimension. You can see it can have a dimension of maybe 1025 pixels by 300 pixels. So that is the way the browser actually represents things in pixels. That's how it is able to show, oh, this one is 14 pixels. When you increase the size a bit more, oh, this one is 16. And you see that 16 will actually be larger. Just like saying 5 meters and 10 meters and 100 meters. So, of course, it's a unit of measure. And as you keep increasing in the number, you see that the lengths will keep increasing. So this is the browser's way of measuring whatever you're putting to it, whether it is a text, whether it is an image, whether it is video or whatever. So that's the browser's unit of measurement.
Okay. Like, do you have a unit of measurement that's determining the length of the letter? Like,
sorry, come again.
Do we have a unit of measurement like this text now, like similar unit of measurement that limits or that determines the number of characters?
That determines the number of characters. So,
yes.
Determine the number of not really. So you can determine the number of characters if you want, and there's also a dot. Okay, this one now is JavaScript. There's a dot substring that determines that from where you can put in the number of characters. But I don't want to go deep into that because we've not got into JavaScript yet. So, but the number of characters, you can write as much as your screen will keep taking. Like this website could be as long as you can just keep typing and typing and typing. When anybody gets on this website, what the person will just do is just to keep scrolling. That's what the person will just keep doing. So, but to say that there is a limitation, I don't think there is. You can just keep typing and your website will keep, becoming long and, keep growing and growing and growing. So, but it depends on what you are doing. It depends on the kind of website you are building. It really depends on what you are doing, right? So there's actually no limits. Yeah. All right. So yeah, so that's pan. A is anchor. Remember, I said, so where this A is used, for example, let's say in the body of this text, we have something like, let's say for more information, right? Maybe you must have been seeing something like this. Click here. So we can come to this click here and give an anchor tag because we want to make it a hyperlink. We want people to be able to click on it and get to somewhere. So we can come here and say A, so we close it. So, but when you say hyperlink, when you say A, you have to give it the attribute href. So href is just the hyperlink reference or the URL, right? So it's saying paste the URL here. So maybe you can say href https. So if you don't have any place to make it go at the moment, you can put an hash. So let's check it out. Hash will not go to anywhere. Let's go down. Can you see? For more information, click here. So let's try to click. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. Hash. It doesn't go anywhere. But if we come to where we have hash and say maybe https // maybe www.w3schools.com, for example. So we gave that as the hyperlink reference, href. So if we click here, so it takes us to w3schools.com because that's what we put in the href, right? So that's how relevant this is. That's that anchor tag. So, okay. So let's move from that and let's go to links. Okay, so links already, of course, we've started talking about links. Ahref is a way to include hyperlink within your code. That's within your body, the body of your code, right? The body tag of your code. But if you want to impute a link, bring in an external resource, like I said in the previous class, you actually use a link tag, which is this on line 10, as you can see, link. That link is going to have a relationship. So whether it is an icon, whether it is style sheet, whatever it is, then href, those that are using phone will see that rel equals to style sheets. If you're using a phone, you're going to see it. You're using the replit.com or the Replit mobile app, you will see rel equals to style sheet. And the href, which is the link, the URL link, is going to be the style sheet on your folder, right? So you're going to see something like maybe styles.css. So that's link, right? Another way to bring in an external resource to your code, right? And you actually write that in the head tag. So in the body tag, you're not going to see link. You're going to see A, which is anchor tag. And I equally talked about blank, target equals to blank. Talked about target equals to blank. That when you say target equals to blank, you are telling it, open this URL in a different browser tab. That's what you mean. If you don't have target equals to blank, then it's going to mutate. It's going to mutate your present website. So let me demonstrate. So on this line 97, where we had ahref equals to w3schools.com. So let's say we have targets. Targets underscore blank. So it's actually going to, when you click target underscore blank, so when you click here, you see, it actually opens W3 Schools in a new tab and allows your website to remain in this other tab. So that's what target blank does for you. All right, so we want to also look at images. Of course, we've already started working with image, but let's just see some attributes that an image has. Then we'll now call it a day. Images. So we actually have an image here, which we are going to work on line 70 in my code here. We have image, right? Image src. This is the link. Remember that we brought it in as a file. This is it, HTML logo.png. So image src equals to dots / then the name of that image file. So what other thing we want to look at? Other attributes that an image has. So alt. This alt is actually very important. Some people skip it, or some people leave it blank, but it's not advisable to leave it blank because alt is alternate text. That's what alt is, alternate text. So, so this is HTML logo. So you are going to make the alt text to describe the logo. No, sorry, in my own case, that is logo. But you're going to make the alt text to describe the image, whatever image this is. Your alt text has to describe it. So, like I said, once again, that alt is useful for screen readers also, for accessibility, right? When a screen reader is reading through your website, if there is no alt text, it will not be able to read, it will not be able to read or interpret what this image is or talks about. But here, when it comes here and you've said in the alt text, you can say a HTML logo. So while the screen reader is reading through your text, when it comes here, it's going to read this alt text to somebody who is maybe visually impaired, for example. So when it comes here, it will just say, oh, there's an image here and it is a HTML logo and moves. So the person that the screen reader is reading to will understand that, oh, okay, there's an image and this is what the image is about. That's one, for accessibility. Two is also for in case this image does not load for any reason. So look at it. Let me show you something. So this is the image, right? This is the image here. So let's say, for example, maybe for any reason, for whatsoever reason, this image does not load. So let's make the image not to load. Let's do something to make the image not to load. So let's come here and alter the name of this file. So instead of HTML, let's remove this M, for example. So let's say I was coding and I just made a mistake in the name of the in the name of the image, for example. So can you see here that there is a HTML logo? A HTML logo. This is the alt text. Then it just gives us, you know, an image. This is the HTML default icon for an image that has failed to load. It will always show. So it shows, it reads the alt text, a HTML logo. So this alt is also like a fallback. It's also like a fallback text. So in case the image does not show up, the alt text will show up. So it's actually very important. Another thing, another importance of the alt text is for SEO, search engine optimization. So, so for example, somebody can search for a logo. The Google or any other search engine is going to crawl, is going to read through websites that have submitted their websites. If you submitted your website to Google, which is a search engine, or any other search engine, when somebody searches for maybe a HTML logo, for example, it's going to go through your website and go through the alt text also to check if there's any matching word like that. Then from there, it will now show your image as one of the images, right? So let's say HTML logo. So you see all these images that is coming out. If you check the source, code, okay, so let's do something. Let's check the source code. I want to show you the source code. So this is it. This is the website that actually has this HTML logo that we are seeing. So let's check the source code. Let's inspect. It's going to show us the source code. So let's check what they used in their alt. Okay. Let's see. Okay, can you see? This is the image. Image item prop equals to. I think they're actually using React for this website. I think so. So that's why you have item prop, thumbnail. You have alt. Can you see alt? HTML logo, comma, HTML5 logo. You know, they put in a lot of different alt so that, you know, Google or any other search engine can be able to crawl it out. So that if somebody is searching for HTML5 logo, their image will stand a chance to show up on Google search, right? So you can see icons, comma, icons, logos, emojis, comma, tech companies, PNG, thumbnail. So you can see that. And they have a title. So the title is what actually is, okay, so let me show you. Let me close this. I hope we are still here. For me, this part is actually interesting.
Yes, we are here.
All right. Thanks. So you can see the alts, all of this. Then you see title, HTML logo. So let's give our own a title. You will see what happens. Let's go to where we are coding. This is our website. So let's go back and say, let's put back the M here. Our image will show. So let's add a title to it. You are going to see something. So at the moment, I'm hovering over, I'm putting my cursor over this image. You are not seeing anything. But let's add title to it. All right. So title equals to, maybe you can say a HTML logo or icon, or maybe slash icon, something. So let's go. Can anyone see what's happening here?
Yes.
Something is now showing a
Yes.
HTML logo slash icon. So that's also how to achieve something like that. You know, you want somebody that when the person puts, maybe you have an icon on your website, for example, and you just want that when the person puts his cursor, you know, the person would see what that logo stands for, or it could be an icon, it could be an SVG or whatever. So that title is actually useful, and this is what it is. All right, so okay, so title, alt, yeah. Also wanted to width, okay, width, height. It has a width property, width. It has a width property, so you can directly work on the width of this image. Maybe you can say 100 pixels, for example. So do you see it reduces it to 100 pixels, right? So with the width property, you can control the size of this just directly. Okay, so that's really image. So I think at this point, we'll pause here for questions. I think in our next class, we'll go into videos. We'll talk about embedding videos, audio files, and even maps, right? Talk about maps. You must have been seeing websites that have maps. So we talk about embedding maps also at this point. Okay, so is there any question?
Yes, sir. Now, when you were creating this website, the beginning part, not really want to
Okay, so just hold on for me. Let me stop the live stream. We're actually done. So just hold on.